Hello there. I thought I would share a little flea market find that I made a couple months ago. I haven't got around to working on this, although this doesn't really need a whole lot of work, I don't think. But it's a Stanley, appears to be a number 4 bench plane. Now, when I first got it, it has this blue Japanning. Japanning just means this, that's what this paint or coating or whatever this is, the colored part is called typically. Uh, it has this blue Japanning. When I first thought it, I have a when I first saw it, I have a Miller's Fall plane, and I that's what I took it for. I thought, well, that's a Miller's Fall plane that somebody put a Stanley iron and chip breaker and cap iron in and all that, but if it works, it'll still be worth, I think $10 was what the guy wanted for it. Still be worth that. And I have an old Miller's Fall that needs handles, uh, but the cap iron, the chip breaker, and the iron, the blade I've got would fit in a Miller's Fall, so I bought it. And when I brought it home, the color, the shade of this is not the same as the Miller's Fall, so it's not a Miller's Fall. But I'd never known, I'm not an expert on them anyway, but I'd never known Stanley to have the blue Japanning, so I did some research. And from like 62 to either 67 or 69, something like that, Stanley changed the color of their Japanning to blue. Some people say that most people agree that this was the era when Stanley planes started to drop in quality. Now you can see that by the black painted wooden handles with they've got the sharp edges and that kind of deal. All right, so that's to me a drop in quality right there compared to the smooth, naturally colored, clear coated where you can see the wood kind of deal. Handles that they had that you see on most good vintage Stanley planes. But there's also so it could be a 60s model Stanley, but there's no, usually Stanley, I mean, I've never seen the number 4 in person, but most of the time Stanley will put number 4, number 5, something like that here, somewhere along the back here, or somewhere. And all this has got is 0557B as a serial number. So there's another version of Stanley planes that has blue Japanning, and they were called Stanley's Handyman series, and they were meant or intended to be a cheaper version of the Stanley hand plane that people could buy. I think they came out in the 70s, but I'm not sure. There are guys on YouTube and the different forums and stuff that would know. But so it could be a handyman. But most of the handymans I've seen didn't have a cap iron like this. They had one where the writing went sideways and it actually said handyman on it. So I don't know which one this is. What I do know is that it's a good solid plane. The casting is good and thick. It's made in the USA. I'm pretty much dead sure it's a Stanley. One of the things that I would do to a hand plane is do what's known as fettle it when I get it. In other words, tune it up. One of the first things you would do is flatten this sole. And then if you wanted, make these edges square to the bottom face of this sole. This thing is just as flat as any of my planes are that I made flat. And the sides are perfectly square. So I think someone else did that work on this plane before, because I've never really found a Stanley that was dead flat. I always had to do some work on it. And I have three or four hand planes of different makes. I have two other Stanleys. One is a vintage number 5 Sweetheart, and the other is a modern block plane by Stanley. But whatever you do, most of the planes that I have had, you had to flatten the sole and all of that. This thing is dead flat as I could possibly make it, and it's dead square to the sides. It's got some paint or something stuck to it, some glue residue, something stuck to it. What I'll probably do, since it doesn't need flattening, is I'll probably hit it with steel wool and maybe a little bit of Comet and try to clean this up. If not, I'll resort to some fine sandpaper, just coarse enough to get this stuff off. And then it's in really good shape. If you look, you can see the wood dust. I don't know if you can, but the wood dust on it from the last time somebody used it. But there's just light rust and tarnish on the cap iron or the chip breaker. Hold on a minute. Alright, I can't find it. You should not do this, but I mean, there's no chips or ugliness to that. I'd need to check this for flatness, that kind of deal. But it looks to be, and really that's a bevel up. I need that to be. It needs to go this way. But it looks to be in really good shape. Alright, that's better. If you look, these bolts here have some rust on them, but I can pull them and polish them up really easily. Probably won't even take sandpaper to do it. Probably some polish will straighten all that out. Hold on a minute. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. But this section, this is called the frog. And to me, it's too far back. I would move it until it lined up here. But anyway, I don't know what this is doing painted. It looks like what may have happened is somebody may have actually repainted this plane, and I might be wrong. But all the other things about it, the way the handles are made and stuff like that, kind of say to me that that's not true. But these surfaces need to be flat. There's a bit of rust in here, that kind of deal. What I may do is remove the finish from there, because it really does look like somebody might have, well, no, that's factory. I don't understand why Stanley would do that, or anybody else. This should be bare metal. This should be bare. These surfaces should be bare. They should made up like that. So before I start sanding all this off, I'm going to ask if anybody has any experience with a plane like this, and what, whether I should do that or not. My instinct is yeah, but if that's a lot of work, and if Stanley did it that way, then what I may do is just clean the surfaces, clean everything up, sharpen this, make sure that the chip breaker sits here nice and flush, and mates up really well, which is part of the fettling process anyway, and then just try it and see what kind of performance I get. And if I think that I need to come back in here and remove this and stuff like that, then I will. But if it works just fine, I probably won't. But for $10, I mean, this is going to be a much better made plane than any of the Stanleys you'd find in the big box stores. I know that Stanley has a higher end series of planes that I've seen at places, I think, like Lee Valley. But from what I read, they're still not anywhere near as good as Stanley's old planes. This Sweetheart number 5 that I got and stuff like that. So, I mean, you pays your money and you takes your chances, I guess, but I don't generally buy new planes. I bought that Stanley block plane and a little plane that's about the size, just a little bit longer, I think, than this, what I think is a number 4 here, from Lowe's. And the number 4, the block plane works well. Block plane's a fairly simple design anyway, but it works well as long as you keep the iron honed properly. The other one, instead of having like the one little adjuster here to move the blade back and forth, it had 2 on the side of this piece, and it just, I believe that Harbor Freight or someplace like that sells a plane that looks just like it, for what that's worth. And once you honed it up and all, it worked okay, but you could not keep it, you could not keep the blade straight. Those 2 lateral adjustment wheels, just, it was a pain in the butt. And so, and I see now why this was back further, because this acts like a little lip, and it doesn't want to mate. So what I'll have to do is go in there with a flat edge when I truly go back to adjusting that frog. But that's alright, I can do that. It shouldn't be an issue. But anyway, and it was just atrocious. It really, really was. That feels... Alright, let's try that. Hopefully that won't need rethreading or something. I tightened it up, but it's feeling funny, and I don't want to push it. So once I get that set where I want it, I won't have to worry about it ever again anyway. So, but, I mean, I'd rather have one of the old vintage planes, even something like this that I think most people say is not as good of quality. I don't see much difference in the way that it's made, except for that, for those areas being painted and stuff. That's odd to me because they normally are not. But anyway, I'd much rather have something like this than I would any of the newer, cheaper Stanleys. I've not tried the more expensive varieties and things like Veritas and Lee Nelson and stuff like that. They're just way beyond me. I can't pay $150, $250 depending on what type plane it is for a plane. It's just, that's not possible. So the vintage ones, plus they're cooler anyway, in my opinion. But anyway, I thought I'd just share that with you and kind of show you what I got. And maybe there's somebody out there that actually knows for certain what this is. And can tell me. So, alright. God bless you. And thanks for watching. Later.